Hi, I'm Chris Birch, and this beautiful motorcycle is my KTM 1290 Super Adventure R. So this is the bike that we got at end of last year, and got it in time to do the launch video for KTM. And since then we've made a few little changes, a few little modifications to make it an even better bike, even more suited to me. And I'll run you through what we've done to make the 1290 Super Adventure R my own. So obviously one of the first big changes is this bright orange KTM Power Parts rally seat. So the really cool thing with this is obviously it's really flat, so you can sit wherever you want on the motorbike. Gives you a lot more maneuverability. It's quite a rounded edge, so you can really slide your hips off the side of the bike, move around on the bike. You're a lot more sort of mobile and agile on the bike than you are with the stock seat. The downside, the trade-off with that, of course, there's always a downside, is that it is quite a bit higher. So for me, that's not a problem. I can get my feet on the ground, but for shorter riders, maybe not ideal. But if you've got the legs for it, really good option. They give you a lot more maneuverability on the bike, and opens up that sort of distance between the seat and the foot pegs, so easier angle on the knees, more comfortable over long days. I really like the seat. It's a big change to how the whole bike feels. With that ergonomics as well, got the rally foot pegs, so again slightly lower, opens up that gap for me. Good wide foot pegs, good strong lock-in for my feet, and really comfortable over those long days. Yeah. So that's probably the main sort of changes to the ergonomics of the bike to sort of dial it into me is the rally seat and the foot pegs. More room, more comfort. Okay, so up the front we've got the HD wheel set. So narrower rim, it's the DID Dirt Star rim. So stronger than stock, more off-road focused, can take the hits better, narrower, so it gives you more quicker, agile turning in the off-road. And I've teamed that up with the Mitas E13 front. It's kind of my go-to, does everything tyre. This one's already got a couple of thousand Ks on it, but yeah, good front tyre for these bigger bikes. Yeah, it's kind of my go-to adventure tyre. We've got a say no to slow axle puller, so it makes it easy to pull the axle out if I get a flat front tyre. Sorry, the other thing I should say with these rims is they're tubed. So I've done away with the tubeless, going to the tubed tyre. That allows me to run lower pressures off-road with more security, no chance of burping the air out of the tyre with the lower pressures. In the forks, the suspension is completely stock. I've done nothing to the suspension other than just sort of dialing the clickers to my liking. And I've gone one click more from stock on the preload, 3 clicks harder on the compression, and 1 click harder than stock on the rebound. So it's very close to stock settings in the front end. I just wanted to hold the front end up a little bit more, not a bit less dive into the corners, allow me to brake a bit harder into the turns. But yeah, pretty impressed with the stock suspension on these bikes. So it's nice not to have to modify it too much. So out the back, again, the heavy duty off-road wheel set. So again, that narrower rim gives me a more rounded profile, stronger rim, all that good stuff. Isn't it pretty? Acropovic exhaust, a little bit lighter than stock, looks amazing. That's probably the main reason that it's there, because it looks really pretty. Gives it a nice note. It's not too loud. I've still got the baffles in it. I don't like my bike to be particularly loud. I like to kind of, be respectful as much as I can to other people, and not everyone likes the sound of a loud bike. On the back, Mitas E12 Rally Star. Really good off-road performance. I do have to be a bit careful how I treat it on the 1290. If I'm too aggressive on the road, that sort of thing, it does tear it apart pretty quickly. A lot of horsepower here, but off-road performance, I haven't found anything that beats these tyres. And yeah, with the traction control turned up a bit more on the street, a bit more gentle throttle use, still get pretty good Ks out of them. So I've got the E13 on the front, E12 on the back from Mitas. So for the gearing, I've gone down 1 tooth on the front, so that gives me sort of closer ratios, lower first gear, makes it a bit more off-road focused, and it's still more than capable of losing your license at a moment's notice in the top speed. Not that that would ever happen. On the rear, stock size, so I've gone to the Super Sprocket. They're a bit stronger, longer life, and a bit lighter than the stock Sprockets, so I get a bit of that unsprung weight out of the back wheel. And again, they look really cool. So yeah, Super Sprock's rear, 1 tooth smaller on the front, good gearing setup. So I'm running the full tech pack, and the standout for that, of course, is the rally mode. So with rally mode, that means that I can adjust the amount of traction control assistance I have as I'm riding along on the fly. Getting used to the bike, early days, low traction situations, so especially if I'm, pop onto a bit of wet tar seal or something for a bit, crank it right the way up to 9. That gives you the most amount of traction control assistance. And then the lower the number, the lower the amount of help, the more skid, the more slide you get. And the best thing with it is now is number one is almost virtually no traction control assistance whatsoever, so it's really low intervention. And that allows me almost complete control of that back wheel, can do big skids, big slides, get through that soft sand, through the mud. And very, very rarely these days do I have to turn off my traction control for the terrain. So with your tech pack, you've got your motorcycle slip control, your cornering ABS, your quick shifter, all that sort of stuff. And I personally really, really like all that technology. It's all really beneficial to the riding experience. The cruise control, all that sort of thing, it just makes life so much easier on these big long trips. And probably, honestly, the big standout for me is that cruise control. I years ago would have laughed if someone told me that you needed cruise control on a bike. But it's great when you're in, not having to worry about your speed. These things build speed so fast. It's nice just to be able to set it on the highway when you're linking together those sections. Relax, look up, enjoy the ride a bit more rather than sort of having to worry about your speed so much, because the police in New Zealand are very, very enthusiastic when it comes to speeding. The ABS, the cornering ABS, all that sort of stuff. You don't need any of that when things are going good. It's when things are going wrong that it really helps out. And earlier actually during the KTM World Adventure Week, it was a long day. The World Adventure Week for us in New Zealand was in the middle of winter. I was coming home on a ride that I didn't know. I was tired, it was wet, it was raining, cold road. And I completely goofed this corner. Just had my line totally wrong. I wasn't paying attention. And I did something really stupid mid-corner, and the bike fixed it for me. I stuffed it up totally, and the bike just had my back. And it was, that moment alone was a real standout for me. Okay, this technology is good. It is there to help me. So really a lot of benefits in that full tech pack. In terms of other sort of basic setup on the bike, I've got my rear brake set nice and high, so just above parallel with the foot peg. So that allows me to access my back brake more when I'm standing up in my more sort of aggressive off-road positioning. Running my levers up nice and high, pretty much parallel to the ground. Again, getting me into that good, strong sort of off-road focused position. Tyre pressures are a question we get asked a lot about bike setup. There is no magical pressure. And I'm probably ranging between about 20 psi up to about 30 psi depending on the conditions. So generally I run a bit lower than what a lot of people tend to. I'm a reasonably light guy, I'm reasonably light on the bike, and I like that traction and that comfort that you get from the softer pressures, but then I have to be a bit more cautious when I'm smashing through the rocks and that sort of stuff. So general touring and exploring are probably higher 20s. When it gets to the more off-road, lower 20s. So for navigation, I'm running the Garmin Zumo XT, and that's mounted onto the KTM Power Parts bracket. So it gives me a good sort of heads-up display sort of thing. You can see where I'm going, not getting too lost, hopefully. For the handlebar mounts, we've got the Power Parts PHCS handlebar mounting system. So these little brackety things in here, bushings in here, give the bar more flex, takes the sting out of it, and again, makes it easier on your wrists over a long, long day. Got the flexi levers, so if I do have a crash, they're going to slide up out the way. And also got the bars mounted on a bit of white plumber's Teflon tape, so they can spin in a crash. And that's a bit of inner tube hanging off there for someone to remember where to put my gloves when I stop. So rather than having them blow away in the wind, I just stick them through there. Good pro tip, that one. So the 1290 Super Adventure R is a heap of fun to ride. Crazy fast, but really smooth, and it does it in quite a gentle way. It's not too aggressive. Great for big long days, covering the distances, and I've got some big plans for this bike even coming up this week, so it's time to get the panniers on, get the rest of the gear on, and get ready for an adventure.